Alright, I want to show you how to take this Alpha 1 Sterndrive off. So it's been on here for a couple of years, been sitting here in the backyard. We're going to get it ready to put in the water. You have the trim pistons you got to take off, so we're going to take these nuts off, take the ones in the front off, try to get the pistons out of the way. I put all the bushings back on and tighten the bolts up, so I got a carry handle here when I put it back together. You have 6 fasteners here. One of them I used, I've already taken that off. That was a lock. It's a drive lock to keep people from stealing your drive. You put it in here, they can't get in there with a wrench or anything. All right, so I'm just gonna use my impact gun, try to get these fasteners off real quick. That one's 9/16 in the front. Get smaller pins on some of these. When you put them all back together, make sure you use grease so it helps take it apart. Grease. One more here. That one's 80 done. There we go. Takes care of those. All right, and then we're going to take the piston hook, piece of hook here to help me wedge them off. Get them started on both sides. Sometimes you want to put the nuts back on to keep them in position. There it goes. There we go. So that one's coming off. And that one's coming off. And they're coming off the back just fine. So if I can get them off the front, then I can, or off the back, I can work them off up here. Now the pistons, if you take one off, the other one's going to try to press in. It's going to be tough for you to get them back together, and you want to make sure that they're in the same plane when you take them off. There we go. Leave that off to the side for a second. Let's get the other one off here. There we go. So I'm going to take these rubber bushings out. Go. And I'm going to put these back on here for both pistons. There we are. And I'm going to leave the other ones just hanging on the ground for right now. We'll put the nuts and the washers back on. This is an Alpha Drive standard rotation right hand. I've shifted the drive in forward. So I know it's locked because it locks counterclockwise. So as if you were trying to back up. If it's not locked, it's not in forward gear, and the shift actuator in your mechanism is not going to be lined up. So you have to do that to get the drive off, or you're going to break something trying to take it off. So always verify it's in forward. Best thing since sliced bread, one of these 3/8 DeWalt impacts with a lithium-ion battery. These things are great. Just really speeds things up. It's nice and light, doesn't have a big heavy battery pack. I'm using a little 2.0 battery. Okay. Now if the drive's loose, you know, I could wiggle a little bit, but if it doesn't, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a board and put it in here, pick up the drive and let it fall on it. I'm going to take this board and put it right there and see if I can get it to move. Well, you got to take the last fastener out. That'll help. Doesn't move, there's another fastener in there. Okay, so a little, see that? And it's breaking that loose. Real nice, helping you out, getting it loose. dig the board out a little bit. And once it starts moving, usually it'll come off. Now you'll notice the bottom stud sticking out a little more, is tucked in on the top, so that means the top has to come out more. All right, this is the point where you gotta muscle the drive a little bit, maybe to get it off. So pick the front up, wiggle a little bit, and see if it'll come out. There it goes, there we are. Looks good, no water in there. My bellows job worked. I still have grease, my shift shaft's still clean. Feeling good. Water O-ring that goes in there, most critical O-ring that you have to replace. There's another neoprene washer or gasket in here you want to replace. It goes inside the housing. And then the gasket that goes on here. Now the gasket's stuck. You can see on the drive, that gasket comes right off. And the reason it comes right off is I grease them before I put them back on. So I grease both sides of the gasket, and it just aids taking it apart and putting it back together. It's real simple. So now that that drive's off, if I had to, I could check that shift cable. I can check my shift shaft, and I can feel my shift shaft's a little tight, so I'm gonna probably end up changing this seal in here, my shift shaft seal, preventative maintenance if that cable's still nice and free. So I'm going to disconnect the cable. It's been a couple of years. I'm going to inspect the bellows real well. All right, and I want to make sure that I can get this thing back in the water quick. Not bad. Looks pretty good in there. So I'm going to get a flashlight, and I'm going to look under here with a flashlight. I'm going to turn the whole drive mechanism. So what I can do now to aid myself in turning it is I can put these pistons back on a little bit with the washers and the nuts. The other thing you might want to do before you lose all the fasteners, especially if the drive's going to stay off for a little while, is put them back on here. And that's what I do. It takes, an extra minute to put these on here, just to get them out of the way. And you can't drop them on the ground this way, and they don't disappear, which is really nice. The torque spec's 55 foot-pounds to torque them on there. You can use a torque wrench, probably not a bad idea if you don't know how tight 55 foot-pounds is. You don't want to reef them on there too tight. Okay, and I'm going to put the other piston on here so I don't lose the bushings, I don't lose the washers. And when I'm going to put this all back together, I'm going to grease that up so that everything comes apart just like it did. So now you have the option to turn that drive, that transom assembly, a little at a time, even with power steering. And then I can look in there with a flashlight, and I'll look at that bellows and see how it looks. If I don't like it, hinge pins come out. I'll pull the bell housing out. I'll change all the bellows. I should change that shift cable if I'm going to take it all apart. That's another 80 bucks. So if I change the bellows, let's say the bellows is $60, the cable's $90, the water pickup hose, another 20 bucks. A few hours labor, it's $150 instead of having to replace the U-joints, the inner seal, the gimbal bearing. And the other thing you want to do is reach in there and turn the gimbal bearing while you got it off with your fingers. Back inside here that supports that shaft. If it doesn't turn real freely, change that while you got it apart, okay?